Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another card tutorial for you. This time it's another shrink plastic shaker card. I haven't made one of these for a while, so I was really excited to get my shrink plastic back out. And it's a Christmas card. I really like to make a few Christmas cards throughout the year just so that my pile gets a little bit bigger and I'm not in a rush to make a whole heap closer to December. Today I'm using my Merry Messages stamps, my add-on for my How You Been set, the Christmas cookies. I'm also using this little set for the cookie jar. I'm using my Let It Shine paper pad by Fawn and one of these stitch circles. I tried to make a point of remembering what the name of these ones were, but they always escape me. Inside Out, Stitched, Scallop Rectangle, that might be the one. I have so many of them, but I really like these ones for windows on the front of my card. So my first step is to cut out that window for my shaker. So I run that through my die cut machine and then I'm going to adhere some clear acetate on the back. For this I'm just using some PVA glue. Let's get started on these adorable shaker pieces. So here is my shrink plastic. I often get asked what brand I use. Do I use the textured ones or the smooth ones? I have not found a difference in brands. I've used many different brands, probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 now, and I've not noticed any difference in the way that this plastic shrinks. I would recommend stamping on one side with your Stays On ink and colouring on the other side. I just find that alcohol markers tend to not even smudge the Stays On ink, but it kind of just all gets a little bit sticky. So I do my colouring on the opposite side, and I have a lot of luck with both the textured shrink plastic and the smooth. I think that's because I use markers. If I were to use pencils, I would probably recommend the textured one just so that it's got a little bit more traction for all that colour to stick. I can imagine it just would not work colouring with pencils on the shiny plastic. But other than that, if you're just using alcohol markers like me, I'm pretty sure any brand and any type would work. So here I am colouring in my little shaker elements. I am not bothering with shading and things on this. I just find because they get so small, the detail is completely lost. That and with it being on plastic, I try not to put too many layers of ink on it. I would just rather do this quickly and let it dry so that I can start shrinking them. I don't have the matching dies for this set, but I have used sets in the past that I do have matching dies for, and dies work perfectly with the shrink plastic. So it would really save a lot of effort cutting this out because the plastic is much trickier than cardstock to cut. So if you've got matching dies, make sure you use them. Okay, now on to shrinking. This is always by far my favourite part. I love seeing the difference in the size once they're done. I use my heat-proof tweezers for these just because I find my metal ones do get quite hot all the way up the handle, especially if I'm making as many as I am today. And here they are. Check out the size difference. They're so cute. Honestly, when I make these cards, I just want to shrink everything. I look at every stamp set I have and think, oh my gosh, how cute would all of that look shrunk down? So today I'm using one of my little acrylic stamping blocks and I'm just using that while the little shrinky piece is still really hot. And I'm just using that to press it down so that it goes nice and flat. I do find that my pieces get a little bit warped from all the heat and the shrinking. So doing this just means that they're going to be nice and flat and maybe not get stuck in my shaker. And so that they fit and can move around a bit better. I'm only stamping out a few little images today. A cookie with a bite out of it, a glass of milk, and the cookie jar. These are just going to go on the front of my card to fill in the space a bit. For my sentiment today, I'm using a stamp from the Merry Messages set. And I've cut out one of the banners. This is the middle size banner of the set of 3 banners that Lawn Fawn have. And I'm going to be covering that with my embossing powder and stamping out "Have a very sweet holiday." I figured it just goes perfectly with those cookies. Because my background paper has little gold flecks on it, I thought it would be nice to have a gold embossed sentiment just to tie everything together. And I get to show you a little bit of embossing today. I usually don't show this because my heat tool is plugged in the kitchen, but because I had the extension cord out to show you all the shrink plastic, it's here at the table already. I just love watching how the colour changes as that powder melts. It is just so beautiful. To give my card the dimension it needs today so that my shaker pieces can move freely, I'm using some kids adhesive craft foam and I'm just doubling it up by sticking it together. The beauty of this stuff is that it's got adhesive already on it, so that this step is really easy. I don't need to wait for that to dry. For the back of my shaker window, if that makes sense, I am using some gold watercolour pigment in a shade that matches both the flecks on the paper and my gold embossing powder. I'm doing these flecks so that the back of this window doesn't look very plain and white, and again just ties it in a bit better with the rest of the card. Now this step may look a little tedious, but I really wanted a nice sturdy pocket for my shaker pieces to move around in. So I've just cut up that foam into little pieces and I'm just going around the edges of where that die had made that stitching detail. I like to try to keep my foam out of sight so that when you look in the window you can't see any bits of blue foam or any coloured foam sticking out. I also add some of this foam around the edges so that everything is nice and sturdy and will stick down nice and flat onto my card base. And I thought it was really funny, by the time I finish this it looks like a little flower. Here I am adding some anti-static powder all throughout my window. I do put some on the acetate and I make sure there is heaps around the edges so that there is no stickiness from that craft foam for my shaker pieces to get stuck on. I then add my shaker elements and some of these little sparkly things, mostly because, one, they're shiny and they sound really good in a shaker. I'm then adding some glue to all of the foam before sticking on a backing. Before adding anything onto the front and giving this card a bit more dimension, I'm going to stick my double-sided tape on the back, just so that this is ready to stick down onto my card base. I'm now going to add all of my little decorative pieces on the front. I've already added some foam squares to the back of this banner with my sentiment. I'm going to be leaving the milk glass without any dimension as I'm putting the cookie jar in front of it, and that one's going to have my foam squares as well. As much as I was loving this card, I felt like something was missing from the top of it. I felt like the top half was looking a little bit bare. So I grabbed this bow die. I do have a lot of different bow dies, some really cute Lawn Fawn ones, but in this case I just grabbed one from an ugly sweater die set that I have, and I'm just colouring it in the same reds that I have used for the cookies. I'm just going to stick that at the top and in the centre. I've got some foam squares on the back of that, so that one is also raised. I'm then going to remove the backing to my double-sided tape and stick this all down onto a card base. And again, I still felt like something was missing, so with this cute little die from my Woodland Critter Hugger add-on set, that's a mouthful, I cut some white cardstock that I had popped gold embossing powder all over and heated so that it was nice and shiny, and I'm going to stick them behind the bow, just so that it frames the top of this card really nicely. And there we have it! This card is complete. I really hope you enjoyed this card. I love making these shrink plastic shaker cards. I already have another one in mind, which I'll hopefully show you by the end of the week. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.